All right, I thought I'd come up on the balcony here. You can see we're at roof level, and you can get a beautiful view. I'm sure this video will sell everybody. I'm moving to Vilcabamba, and I'm making these videos because I would like to people who maybe have no inclination of moving to another country might see these and say, wow, this is pretty cool. I could maybe do this. I think Vilcabamba needs a more diverse influx of extranjeros, as they call us, or some gringos. But anyway, there's beautiful Mandego. Yesterday's video I showed the rain, and just to give you an idea of the next day, how beautiful. And this is what it's like most of the time, actually. This is like about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's not as hot right now, and I would say, much more conducive to hanging out outside. And it doesn't really get that hot. There's a good view of Vilcabamba, closer view. Doesn't get that hot, not much over 80. So, the Valley of Longevity here. And anyway, so there you go. A view of our little slice of paradise. Welcome to part 3. This is my evening video. It is dark outside, and the beginning of this, of course, started with beautiful sunshine, but I finally got around to sitting on the couch here and deciding, okay, I'm going to go for part 3 installment, which is going to be talking about safety and crime. I think that's definitely a consideration. I have to say that, before moving here, I was watching The Walking Dead, yes. And so when I thought about Ecuador, I had no idea, am I going to be dealing with The Walking Dead? I'm just a dreamer, so engineer, musician, shaman, so so I thought, well, you can't bring any guns, and I'm not really into guns, so I bought some really cool crossbows with me, and they're easy to disassemble, and they're actually recreational, so you can't really say it's a weapon, and I was able to get them into Ecuador with no problem. And I have to say that was probably one of the stupidest things I did. Well, it's not, you never know. I mean, zombies could show up any day at your doorstep, and I guess I have a couple really nice crossbows with scopes on them hanging in our upstairs. And, they say, okay, this is kind of how it works here, and I might have mentioned in a previous video. If somebody attacks you with a stone, you could throw a stone at them. If somebody attacks you with a stick, you can hit them with a stick. If somebody attacks you with a knife, you can use a knife. If somebody attacks you with a knife and you use a gun, you're like going to jail. So probably not a good idea to have a gun. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the reality, not, I suppose you're watching this video because you're thinking, well, I'm thinking about moving to Ecuador, and this guy's been here for 3 years. I'm worried about safety. I'm worried about crime, and I'm going to get into all that. This is probably going to be a longer than a 10-minute video, or even maybe even longer than 20, because there's a lot to be said here. But I want to tell you right up front that after 3 years of being in Vilcabamba and traveling to Loja 2 or 3 times a week, I have never once in all of those 365 times 3 days, felt threatened for my life, felt threatened for my children. I mean, aside from the cars and the taxis zipping around, my daughters, we had number one rule when we're walking in the city of Loja is they stay behind me. So like if anybody gets hit, it's gonna be me first. So I'm kind of like the traffic cop with my kids. But you know what? And that's another thing. When you first get here, you think, oh, I mean, these cab people and drivers they have absolutely no consideration for pedestrians. Well, on the surface, being new, it looks that way, but it really isn't. If you step out in front of a cab that's zipping around, coming at you, you step out in front, they're going to stop. They're not going to run you over. I mean, this isn't um, like it appears to be when you first get here. So I was really, scared. Like, my girls, they're just totally new to this. So but they're really seasoned now, and I mean, after 3 years in Ecuador, they're gonna be able to live anywhere in the world and basically be very street smart. So, any rate, with that being said, 3 years, I've never felt threatened. Okay. But you know what? I have to say that, I'm been around for quite a few years. I've lived everywhere in the United States, from Chicago to Portland, Oregon, to Arizona, to Tennessee, to Cape Cod, and everywhere in between. And, you kind of the deal about living here and the way that people think is that you're kind of responsible for your own safety, and what you do and what stupid things that you do and not being cognizant is your own fault. And so that's kind of how things are looked at. So I kind of fit in really good because I'm constantly always looking out for worst case scenario because I'm a freaking engineer and that's the way my brain works. What's the worst case situation? It drives other people crazy, but anybody with an engineering mind just kind of understands it. So if you are thinking you're going to come here and you don't like a situation or somebody's threatening you and you're going to call the police and they're going to come and haul them away, just like they do in the United States. It's a police state. Um, you're just you're dreaming because that's not going to happen. That's not how it works here in Ecuador. You're completely responsible if you get yourself in a bad situation because you walked into the hole. So I'm not saying that this is I'm not saying that when my son who has autism was lost when we first got here, he was like running and escaping the house and we didn't know where he was. And the police, I called them. I got in their car. We looked all over, and I mean they were like there helping out. Now, um, I can't say that some of the stories I've read about crimes around here, and there was just a woman slashed here in Vilcabamba by some Irish dude that was crazy. And the police didn't do a whole lot. I think he's in custody, but I'm not sure because the first time I heard is that no, he was free. And and I guess it is, if you can heal in 30 days, then it's really not a crime. Now, don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard quite a few times. So, um, anyway, let me explain that situation where this woman was literally slashed. This guy slashed her with a knife, and her arm was slashed. Okay, so she's like in the United States or wherever she comes from, Canada. She works with um, uh, addicts and people who are criminal kind of mentality and stuff. And that's her profession. And what behooves me is here's this woman who works with these kind of people, but befriended this guy who was a bit crazy, and I think if she works with these people, she should recognize it, but maybe she likes to commune with these people. I mean, that's her job. That's what she does. So to her, maybe it's normal to hang out with people who are a bit crazy. Well, she gave the guy eggs and some food and stuff, and then he turns around saying that, she poisoned. What happened here? Let's see. Okay, we got a little stall there for a second. I'm not sure. Anyway, um, he was saying that she poisoned him and blaming her, and he takes a knife and he slashes her, and she calls the police, and I don't know the whole story, but this just happened the other day here in Vilcabamba. Um, I think, and I'm going to have a lot of disagreement from locals who would disagree that, if a person needs food, I don't care who they are. I mean, it's a very religious kind of view of life. Feed the poor. I don't care if they're crazy. They need food. I'm going to feed them. If you're that kind of religious person, then I think your safety may be compromised here, because you're going to befriend people who are quite dangerous. And when I said it, I have never been threatened for 3 years. Maybe that's because I have kept away from certain kind of weird looking people, or they come by and they're drunks and they want to shake your hand because they've seen us play music, and I just say hi and keep walking. I don't mingle with it. Okay, I protect my kids, I protect myself, my family. So with that being said, this woman, I think, was uh, responsible for the situation she got herself in. I don't condone what he did. He's probably a nutcase. I'm not sure. I think they're trying to deport him out of here. He's from Ireland, I think. I think he's been hanging around South America. Don't know all the details. But, crazy is crazy. And, you have to be able to, recognize that. So if you're coming, no, the crime rate in Ecuador is actually one of the lowest in all of Central South America. I think it's like the second lowest. Now, the crime rate was much higher 8 years ago, but even the murder rate, but it's come way down. I think it's like, I mean, I was doing a comparison of a city of Loja in Lansing, Michigan, which is about the same population. And Lansing, Michigan had 11.9 murders per, is it 100,000 or whatever? No, what was it, 10,000? I'm not sure, but it was 11.9 versus Ecuador, the city of Loja, having 3.2 or something. So, I mean, literally Lansing, Michigan, which is a relatively safe little city in Michigan, is 4 times more deadly than the city of Loja. So, you gotta have to keep things in perspective, but you gotta really understand that you're not going to have police at your beck and call, and they're not going to come over and swiftly take the guy away. But I also think, going along with that, you're not likely to get shot by a police like you do in the United States. And how many people are shot by police and killed because they came out at night and they heard some burglar and the police comes out there and they shoot them? I mean, that just happened in Wisconsin. I think it was not too long ago. I read, and Australian woman or something, and she got killed because she called 911 and the police came running. So, I have personally found the police very helpful. When I needed help finding my son with autism, they were right there. There was no judgment, there was no attitudes, there was nothing. They were just like helping out. I think that's what, they don't want to deal with stupid crime. I mean, but that's their job, of course. But I think you have to kind of start thinking Ecuadorian style. And after 3 years here, I'm thinking more Ecuadorian style. Um, so one of the things that I did before I moved here is I bought 2 German Shepherd pups. I'm saying, not only did I come here with crossbows, but I bought two German Shepherd pups from a gentleman friend who lives here now, friend, and over the community Vilcabamba community Facebook page, and I bought them in advance, and he kept them for us till we got here. So like I said, worst case scenario type of guy. I tried to think, okay, and I would have to say that was probably one of the best things that I did. They're in our house, these two German Shepherd dogs now. It is a little noise outside. They're bark, 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 bark. I think typically criminals, Ecuadorian people in general, are kind of fearful of dogs, especially German Shepherd dogs. You know, I mean, my dogs are, very protective. Um, and I think that's a really good thing to do because I think that's you want an alarm system if somebody's messing around outside your house or something like that. I think that there are places to live that are dangerous, and there are places that are less dangerous to live here. And I think you know to talk to neighbors, get a gut feeling. Does this feel safe to you? Do you feel like you can go in your house and not have to worry about somebody outside? I rented this house, as I mentioned in earlier videos. 3 months before I moved here. It's a great house, great deal. I love the view. I love the location. It's a 20-minute walk into town, and I feel really safe here. But I also lock my doors. I also put some wire mesh on all the window screens so somebody can easily cut through the windows. Um, and aside from the first year, we thought we heard somebody outside and the dogs are barking. I haven't had you know any kind of attempted break-in or theft or anything like that here. But that is not the case across the board here in Vilcabamba, and there are many houses that are high up on the hill that have gotten ransacked and robbed. There recently a case just south of Vilcabamba um, where people were kind of living in a group, uh, and I'm not too sure exactly what the property was like, but I think this woman on the property was advertising she found $50,000. Somebody had buried there. That's what my wife said anyway. So I mean, it just kind of put up a big flag. Come and rob me. And I guess everybody in town had known that she had found this money or whatever. So that's not a good thing to do. If you find money, you go advertising. But aside from that, I think 10 guys with shotguns and guns, went there to rob everybody. And one of the women who were accosted in this robbery, I don't think anybody was injured, but she's, returned to the United States. Um, but I have to say that before we moved here, she was one of the people that we had contacted because she had another property. She was living with her husband at the time. And my vibe about that property and about them and everything was like keep away. Like, this is not a good place to move to. So I just kind of let it go. They were looking for other couples and people to come and live on their land. And a year or so later, that all fell apart, and it was a good choice. Good choice that I got this house. Good choice where the house is at. So, I think you have to. I think you have to come here with a different kind of perspective on on safety that you typically have in the United States. In the United States, you're walking down the street and you trip in a hole that the storekeeper didn't fix. Then and you get injured, you sue them, and you know you call the police, and they come running, and yeah, da 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 da. Um, that is not how it works here. You fall in a hole, that's your stupid fault. If there was a hole, I mean, I have a video of just holes all over the streets of Loja, on the sidewalks, and all these like disaster, you could trip on. And it's really funny. I have this video, and uh, you know, just this past year, this past fall, they've redone all the streets. And of course, it was not because of my video, but it was really funny. I was able to capture, what it looked like before. And I also captured the construction of this. I have videos on my channel here. You can see the construction of the streets of Loa. I'm just this crazy videophile person that loves to film and capture moments. Um, so so please do go visit my channel and see the 700 and I think 17 videos I have so far on there, and most of them are about Ecuador. So all kinds of things. Okay, so we're talking about crime. Let me see what else. Here's another situation. It's a really sad situation. A woman from the United States. She came here to do an ayahuasca ceremony, and it was like a 2-week event or something. Okay, I think she was on some kind of antidepressants a bit, which is really a no-no in doing ayahuasca. And I'm not an ayahuasca expert by any means, but the things that if I was to do ayahuasca, I would read up about it, and I would find out all the things that you shouldn't do and what could possibly happen, and I would probably have like worst case scenarios all figured out, but this is a sad situation because she didn't do any of this, and she went to this, and not even having another person that was a friend of hers to go with her in deep into the jungle with the shaman. And I think it was the third day she was like freaking out, and the shaman, don't know the whole story, but that's not really important here for what I'm trying to say. She was taken out of the circle and outside the circle somewhere and left somewhere, and the next thing she's dead. Okay, so what happened there? How did she die? Okay, now here's a good case where her parents from Texas pursued it legally, and the shaman is actually in prison now. Not because she died of ayahuasca, and I don't know exactly what the reason she died, but basically her body was loaded in the back of a pickup truck and was taken down the mountain or wherever they were doing the ceremony. I guess, I don't know if it was a mountain, or it probably wasn't a mountain because they were in the jungle. And, driven to wherever they drove her body to. And so her body was rumbling around, rolling around, and she ended up with a broken neck or a broken spine was one of the injuries, which is probably, maybe it caused her death after she was loaded in. Maybe she had really died before. Maybe it wasn't, but the fact that, that was done was, was extremely careless. It was a very expensive workshop deal that she paid a lot of money for. But I think the shaman was found guilty and is now in prison. So justice can be served here. I don't know if any of that would have happened if the parents wouldn't have pursued. But there's a lot of people here that would probably say I doubt it. But there's another situation. Another crime that I can tell you about is a beautiful older woman that lived here in Vilcabamba, and there's actually a video of her where they had a, I don't want to say ceremony, but they had a gathering to honor her because she had died. She was living next to somebody by herself in a little cabin next to another couple or whatever, but by herself in probably a very dangerous kind of out of the way place. Now, out of the way places are not going to be considered safe. So, anyway, so she was attacked with a crowbar and was beat. And she emotionally and physically suffered quite a bit um, afterwards. I mean, she wasn't killed; she was just injured. I think it was a theft or robbery, and it was a violent one. And she really, she was kind of like a butterfly. She was like in her 70s or something. She was just a very sweet, very kind of quasi shamanic person. Um, Knew enough about shamanism and stuff and talked about it a lot. And but was not very, I don't know, aware, I guess is the word I can say here, which is what I'm talking about, is awareness. So, if you're that age and you're that fragile, you don't live in a cabin way out in the distance next to somebody else. You have somebody live with you, you live with some other people, that can, so you have some sense of protection. So here's the situation. Well, she didn't die from that, but she had some kind of problem with her stomach, and I think she went to Peru, and she went to a hospital there, and she was going to have an operation there, and she just died there in the hospital from complications, whatever. So, there, that was another situation. I mean, so I don't mean to like scare you with all of these crimes that have happened, but there's another gentleman in Malacatos, which is nearby. He was, let's see, a professor retired from Italy, and he was well known. He had a lot of books that he had written, and he was living by himself again, or maybe was it with his wife, but I'm not sure. But again, the point is he was living way out in the outskirts, like where no one's going to hear him. Nobody is going to know that anything happened. And he was attacked. They broke in and they beat him, hit him with some kind of object again, hammer, I think it was actually. And he ended up dying like 2 months later in uh, in the hospital from the injuries that he sustained. He was an quite older guy. So those are all the ones that I'm sharing with you that, Oh, there's one other one that just occurred about 3 weeks ago. A woman from Venezuela, I think. She was kind of like a photographer, and she went up to climb Mandango. And, there's a lot of stories about people being accosted up in Mandango. I've taken my two boys on a hike up Mandango, just the three of us. But here's this, almost 6 foot guy and his sons, and not likely somebody's gonna see an easy picking there. I mean, I think they would have themselves a fight on their hands. But here's this, fragile woman, and again, going up to Mandango, hiking it by herself, and she was accosted by two young 20-year-olds, and she was thrown over the side of the cliff. Her camera was taken. She had a lot of bruises. She survived. And then she said later that she saw one of the attackers playing soccer or something right next to the police station, and the police did nothing. So, I think that changed. I think that the police did arrest a person, or again, I don't know all the details, but these are all the cases since 3 years that I recall. Um, of crimes that were very obvious. I mean, there's been a lot of robberies and stuff. And again, not trying to discourage or scare you that this is a. I know my sister in California said that, oh Daniel, you're moving to a lawless country, and I that's so far from the truth. It's ridiculous. You know, um, I'm telling you crimes that occurred because people put themselves in a dangerous position. And I'm not discounting that, these are crimes and it's bad, and, that they need to be held accountable for their crimes. But I'm saying that if you come here thinking that the police is going to protect you and just run to your side and do everything like they do in the United States, that's not going to happen. So I see that this video is kind of getting long. It's already at 29 minutes, and I figured this was going to be a longer one. So let me see if I can kind of sum some things up here. You don't need to bring any crossbows with you or guns or anything like that. Guns aren't really. I think it's very difficult to get a permit for a gun here, and there's not a whole lot of guns, and I never see guns around here. Though people, robbers, and that have used guns, so they do exist out there, and I think that you need to come here with a really good sense of security. Um, and I think, like a German Shepherd dog or some kind of dog that's going to be protective, finding a house in a very good location that just really seems safe, and talking to the neighbors and stuff, and asking them about crime. I think if you move here to get a sense of what this place is like, and what areas feel very safe to you. So, maybe renting, staying at a hostel for like 2 months or a month or two or whatever, and to really go around and to check out, the different locations and where different things are. But you kind of have to think, I mean, in the United States, you can have like a house in the middle of the freaking woods, and you're going to be like safe. I mean, typically people aren't, but here you have a house in the middle of the woods. It's like, oh, well, this is easy picking. You have to kind of think. I mean, the first couple months we were here, and the name of our band is the Pink Violin Band. My daughter had a pink violin. She left it in the bathroom stall at Supermaxi, which is kind of a supermarket place. And she left it in the bathroom stall for like 5 minutes until I forgot my violin in the bathroom stall. When she got back, the pink violin was gone. The money was gone. The only thing that was left was the bow. So apparently, they didn't know much about violins, but it was gone. Hard lesson learned. Theft is like serious thing. I mean, think about it. If in the United States people have a lot of stuff, even people who are poor can get food stamps and all these different things, and they have food. They have, stuff. You can go to Goodwill. You can buy stuff for like not next to nothing. There's no Goodwills here. You can't find cheap stuff. That secondhand stuff. Nothing secondhand because it's used till it's dead. I mean, until it's no longer working. That's how Ecuadorian. It's kind of like the way I live my life too. I use things till like can't use them anymore. So you have to kind of these people are very poor in the sense that they don't have a lot of stuff. So if you have stuff laying around, I mean, I've lost some great video cameras. I left them for somewhere for a minute. It was filming and I forgot. I left it in and get back, it's gone. You leave anything, it's gone. Consider it gone. Okay. People here don't have a lot of stuff. If they see it, I mean, they're very religious, very Catholic, but that doesn't much matter because you don't have it, then you if it's there, then you take it, and that's how. So I don't consider this form of I don't even want to call it robbery. I mean, I guess you can say it's robbery, but it's just like um, it's if you don't have something and it's sitting there and nobody's claiming it, then you grab it and you take it. You know, I suppose in the United States that would be considered robbery, but here it's just kind of normal way of life. So the biggest thing here is like theft that you'll deal with. So I've lost so many hats on the bus, so many things I've left on the bus. Boy, you really, unless you have a car, you really kind of learn some hard lessons, and you have to um, uh, really keep track of your stuff. And I carry a backpack all the time. If I'm not wearing my hat, I put it in the backpack. You got the backpack on your back. You're always aware of it. My daughters are very conscious about leaving anything because we've lost so many things, early on, and less as the years have gone by. So that's kind of it about crime. I would say that probably in the bigger cities like Guayaquil and Quito, there's going to be a lot of more violent crime in those cities. I think Loja is a very, very safe city. Um, I have walked there at 9, 10 o'clock at night with my girls. We come out of the theater for a concert that we've seen, and we're on the streets. It's dark, you know. There's the street lights, and I just have never felt like in a precarious situation that I could be threatened or accosted. I think Loa is a very safe city. In the center part of Loa. I haven't been in the outskirts, and I would say that would probably be a little bit more dicey. But in the central part of Loa, between where the bus stop is and the center of the city, I think that at 10 o'clock at night, I've had my daughters, and I felt perfectly safe. Uh, the buses between Loja and Vilcabamba have always been very safe. There's never been any robberies. I'll talk about transportation in another video because there's some things you really need to know about buses because they're all driving on the edges of the cliff and it's a long ways down and there's no guardrails. So um, it'll be another video. We'll talk about transportation and getting around. But that's pretty much all I have to say about crime. I think I covered all the points. If you have any questions, please ask below. And over and out, the dude. Take care.